Hi everyone.
Hi Neha, hi everyone. Thank you all for joining our first community call. So today we have we'll be discussing over a lot of topics like what's new with Keploy, what we are building, where we are with our V2 launch. So today we'll be going through each of these agenda individually. So I guess I'll hand it to you, Neha.
Yep, thank you, Animesh. Hi, one and all. It's lovely to be here now because it's been a while since we did our last community call, and feels great because we are here with our V2 launch, Keploy V2. For those who are new, Keploy is a test generation platform for developers where you can generate test cases and data mocks just by making the API calls, and highly increase your test coverage highly. So that's what Keploy does. We'll be walking through a short demo of V2, Keploy V2, and how it is different than Keploy V1 today. And my team members would be showcasing some of the cool new Keploy features. And then Anime should be also sharing about what's coming next. We are now committed more towards having these community calls more frequently as we see more love. Uh, so yeah, I will just start by giving you an overview of how Keploy V2 is different than V1. Um, the concept remains the same, that you can record the API calls as test cases and data mocks, but it has become more user friendly in terms of the integration in the installation process. That was kind of a pain, what we saw, and when we felt what the feedback was. So I'll quickly share my screen, walk you through the readme first. uh, just let me know on image if this is visible, or just press yes in the comments so that I can know. uh, is it visible?
Yeah, your screen is visible. Yes, it's visible.
Awesome. So we have made Keploy in such a way, the V2, that it is using eBPF, extended Berkeley packet filters, and we are capturing the network calls at the Linux kernel level. So you don't have to really do any code integration or code changes when you are integrating Keploy now. Yeah, it took us a while, but now we are, doing that with Keploy V2. So that's the biggest change. And the other biggest change is that when we develop a support for any application dependency, for example, if written for MongoDB, then we are able to support that in almost all the language. That's the theory, but we do test it on Java, Python, and Go, and Node.js. So these are the four languages that we test on, and we say that we support. But people are running it on Rust, working fine. Uh, so we don't have to write uh, integrations for each dependency in different versions and languages. So that's the another big change. With Keploy V2, you are able to get combined test coverage with JUnit, PyTest, GoUnit, and you can only write functional or unit test cases for something that you believe is a very crucial function, and for rest of it you can easily achieve a good coverage by recording the test cases and mocks with Keploy. I will also, maybe if we have time left in the end, we'll be covering how you can easily integrate it in your CI/CD pipelines, to make it as part of your regular process. This is how it works, architectural wise. If you have your application running maybe in staging environment or production environment, Keploy will capture the test cases if you have integrated that, and record and replay those later in your CI pipelines or local environments when you're before making the PR. Yeah, so One thing is that eBPF support is not natively supported on Mac OS. So, you cannot run your applications on Mac OS and wrap it with Deploy for recording. If you're using Windows, then you need to use WSL. And if you are using Linux, then it is fine. So we support Linux natively with or without Docker. You can run your applications in Windows. You can use WSL and run your applications inside it and do deploy, record, and replay. And for macOS, you know, uh, without Docker, it is not possible yet because of the no eBPF support. With Docker, you can use Colima. We recently noticed the new release on Docker for Mac where they have added an eBPF support. We're testing that, should be coming up soon in the next community call. Cool. So I will first have my team member Shivam here to show you how to quickly install Keploy within just one command, and it will be all integrated. And then I will walk you through the demo after he shows you the installation process. Shivam, over to you.
Yeah. So, hey folks, my name is Shivam Saurav Jha, and I'm here to introduce you to One Click Install, a bash script designed for cross platform installation of Keploy. Right? So, let's get started with that. And here we go. So, let me take you to the documentation itself. Right? So, yeah. In case of macOS, you can just let's see what this command does. So yeah, since I have already Colima installed on it, I can just click on yes. And by this, I guess, yeah. So this Keploy is installed for me on macOS. And in case of Linux, right? So the Linux and macOS are different, and the installation script is still the same, right? So in case of yeah, so this is one of the errors that you folks might face, and this is because of DNS being blocked on the service provider, right? So this has nothing to do with Keploy. It is more or less related to the DNS. So instead of that, yeah. So yeah, this shall install Keploy for you. Okay. So just visit the installation, and from there, depending upon your operating system, you can, of course, the command, one click command is same for both the cases. But yeah, that's how we install Kepler. Over to you now.
Awesome. Thanks, Shivam. I understand that like this geo issue I am also facing. I don't know my dev blog GitHub download. Cool. So what I'll do is I'll share my favorite example, which is Gin Mongo, because people understand it when I show it in demo. So I'm taking a very short URL, a short URL shortener, short app, right? I'm going to follow this guide, you know, for macOS because I'm using that. I have Colima installed, so if I do Colima start, then it is already installed. So what I'm gonna do is first I'm going to open this in VS Code, see if there is existing deploy folder and delete that. Yep. So this is just like your application. There is no code change. This is a single URL shortener app. Have two APIs, get and post API. Post would do, a MongoDB entry of a long URL to a shortened one, and get would get you back the long URL if you give the shortened one. Simple app, and I have a Docker Compose file for it. so that I can just do Docker Compose instead of setting up a Mongo database and then running the application. Again, nothing related to Keploy yet. So to integrate, um, after you've done what Shivam showed, the one-click installation, you can also manually set that instead of one-click installation by setting up Keploy alias. And then all you need to do is Keploy record. That's it. So you do Keploy record the command to run your application. Either it could be, go run main.go, handler.go for Python, a Python main.go. And then the container name if you are running it on Docker. So I'm using Docker. So that's why I'm giving the container name of my application. You can also see that here, right? The container name. So I have that. I will run Keploy record. And with this, Keploy is integrated and has started acting like a proxy to your application. So my MongoDB instance is running, my application is running. Any call coming to any call coming to my application will get recorded by Keploy. I am going to open this in parallel. So if I say, let's say, do a curl request of, uh, post. So I'm going to post google.com to this API and uh, see if, Keploy records that. I got a response, and as soon as I open this, there is a Keploy folder created with one test case that I did. This was method post call that we did on localhost 8080. What was the body of it, the google.com URL that we sent, and what was the response status along with the body of the response, right? Everything is recorded. You also have a curl if in case you need it for future, and you would see that there is a noisy header.date field. So it means that if you have any noisy parameters which differ, Keploy would automatically detect that. The most interesting part and how Keploy differs is you have the mocks. So there must be an initial connection request that your application would have made with MongoDB that is mocked and stored here so that you don't require MongoDB or any of your dependency next time when you are running your test cases. Uh, and similarly, we did a one query that was a post call upsert in MongoDB. So if I search for google.com, then you can just a sec, yeah. You can see there was a upsert query done to MongoDB, and this was stored as a mock here. Um, so let's make some more API calls. Let's see if we want to get this. Let's say you're using your web application, making your API calls via that. So it should resolve to google.com, right? This is a shortened URL for google.com. It's resolving, and I can also give it, maybe a wrong case, like a 404 case, where to increase my coverage for 404 handling, right? So I can do, let's say, a wrong URL and 404. So these two test cases, the API calls that we made, they created these two test cases along with their mocks. So you don't need MongoDB anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this recording now, and I'm going to now test this. I'm going to put the same command, just instead of record, you have deploy test. That's it. So now what Keploy is going to do is it's going to run all the three API calls that I did along with the Mongo mocks. It is not going to require Mongo database anymore, and it's going to showcase. Just a second. Let me zoom out a little bit. Yep. So it is going to showcase which test cases ran and what were the differences. So I did this on purpose to showcase you how the difference would look like. So let's say this is timestamp difference. It got highlighted because the API call responded with timestamp, and it has changed since then. If you want to add these kind of fields as noisy fields, you can do so by adding that as a parameter in the particular test or as part of the global config that Charan would be showcasing you later. So I can add body.timestamp here, and this would be ignored going further, right? This will not be asserted forward to. You can have maybe your random number you are using in API UUIDs, some other fields that change and you don't want to assert on. You can add those noisy field here. If it is global for all the test cases, you can add it as part of the global configuration file. Now, let's also introduce a regression, right? Instead of, let's say, um, in the response, I was expecting something else and got something else, right? So now it should, uh, you know, or maybe even we can try something else. Instead of google.com, we have ping.com, right? So the expected behavior of application would change, right? So now when I run Keploy test, right, with the command to run the application, it should ignore the timestamp field because I added that as noisy, and it should, highlight the key difference in the shortened URL. Yep. So the timestamp is still different, but it is ignored. What it is highlighting is that this was the expected response, like we recorded for google.com. But since I've changed the the request to oracle.com and the hash is different, now it is mismatching, right? So you will be able to see such reports, and will be able to quickly record and replay your test cases with the data mocks with Keploy. Yep. So this is a short demo. Then, now I will be handing it over to Charan, who is part of our team, and will be showcasing how we can quickly, use global config files to adjust the configurations within Keploy itself. Over to you, Charan.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Neha. And it was a wonderful presentation by Neha and Shivam. Congratulations. And let's move on. So, right now, you might have observed what Neha and Shivam might have done. So, the main pain point which we faced in V1 and V2 was the installation part, integration part, and everything. So, that we have solved using V2. And next pain point we faced once we launched V2 was it was hard to install because the operating system may be different, the platform which they are running is different. So we created an installation script. So that is was for the other pain point. So there was another pain point actually. So that was running the commands. If you see what the presentation by Neha, you have might have observed that Neha was continuously running the commands which are very long, like and which have many flags like dash c dash p and everything. So that will be very tiresome if someone is using Keploy regularly. So we have come up with one feature where it would make easy for developers or anybody to use Keploy like instantly without remembering everything for every command whenever you run it. So let's go through the documentation first. Then I'll go through and I'll present an example so that you can understand it very clearly. So let me present this my screen. Hmm, yeah. So if you see my screen, so we are now going to talk about configuration file. So this configuration file is generally looks like this, where you have all the flags which you use in the command line. So you might have seen the dash C flag which Neha used. So that is nothing but command flag. So in such way, there are many flags which Keploy uses. As Keploy is dealing with applications, like people can create applications in any way. Like we have to support every uh, thing which the application supports. So we ended up having many flags so that the application never fails to run. So that's why we have many flags. So to deal with that many flags, we created a configuration file where the user should use this file and can just record and test the application using this command, Keploy record and Keploy test. So if whenever you install Keploy, if you want to generate this file, you can just generate it as Keploy generate config. And if you have a specific path where you want to keep it, you can give the path. So that is what this command actually creates a config file. So then this is the default config file which you will be able to see once you run this command. So after running this command, you might have uh, ran the Keploy using the flags for the first time. So then you can actually get those flags and paste it over here, like the command, the how to run the application. The command can be pasted over here, and part of the test files where you want to save, you can put it over here. In similarly, whenever you run with Docker, you might have seen they have used dash container name flag, so you can actually put it over here so that you don't have to put it over in the command line every time. So let's go through a quick example and understand how we do that actually. So let me show you the this is the same app which Neha showed in Mongo. I made a little changes, but it's almost the same one. So let's see how how we record the test cases normally. So when we record the test cases, we actually use this complete command like deploy record dash c, and if there is a like path we want to give, we'll give dash p like e to e. This is the path where I want to save the file. So we generally give this long command every time we want to record something. So we just wanted to eliminate it. So let's just generate a config file. So I'll run the command which I showed you. So it says that config file is generated. So let us see if config file is generated. Yeah, it is generated. So let's go through the config file. So it is the same file which I showed you in the documentation. So it has two sections, record and test. So whenever you are recording, your parameters should be here over here. So let us take the command which we want to run. So put it over in the command section. So I have done it. Now path. So I want to save it in E2E. So let me add it at the path too. So now when I want to run in record mode, I can just do Keploy record and uh, just a minute. Let me just. I think the alias is not set. So let us set the alias first. So let me just set the alias. So this is the alias I want to use. So let me set the alias and run the Keploy record again. So this is how with just Keploy record command, I have ran the record mode in the Keploy. Now I can record the calls. So let's record some calls. So I have recorded this, and let's record some other call too. So I have recorded two calls. So let's see if we have got the files. We got the files over here, test1 and test2, which we have just created, and we also have the mock file. So in test1 and test2, if you see, you got the post request which you did, and in test2 you got the get request which you did. So now let's actually go through test actually how the test differs with the Keploy config. So this is how you run the record. So you have to specify all the flag information here. So whenever you want to just run, you can just run Keploy record. So now let's go through test. So when you go through test, you have the same commands, but there is one flag which is a bit different in the test, that is global noise. So actually let us just go paste this command in the test also and see how this works, uh, whether we will be getting some noise or not. Let's just check. So let me run test. So let's the code, close the code. Then now let's run test. So you might have seen there is a parameter called UA. Like if you see the one test is passed and one is failed. So one test that is passed was a get request. So the response in the get request will not change. That will always be same. But when you see the first test case, if you see let us see the report actually. So let us just refresh so that we get. So we got the report. So let us see the report actually. So the overall report is failed. So let's see what actually failed. So if you see the first test case, so these two are the two test cases which we have got the report which we generated. So let's go to the first one. The first one is a post request. So you can see actually the expected and actual one. So the expected one, the URL is same, like, and the UID is different because as UID is generated randomly for every request, we will get it different for every time. So when you record, it will be different, and when you test, it will be different. So we need to act. We actually know that it will be different. So we consider those fields which are to be different as noise. So we consider this as noise actually. So that's why it failed. So we need to mention this as noise in Keploy so that it will never compare these values, UID values. The second got passed because it is just a get request and everything is safe. So let's just add the uh, add the UID field here and see what it does. So I have added the UID field. I will let you know why I added this list over here and how I added this here. So let me explain what does this global noise means first. So this global noise means like for every test case, if you see there is an option to add the noise over here, but there will be some cases where in maybe large companies, maybe if a developer is using Keploy extensively, he may end up creating number of test cases. Like there will be many number of test cases as well as test sets. So we have given an option where people can actually set a global noise so that this UID can be present in different test cases. So you can't go in each and every test case and add this UID over there. So we have given a feature where people can actually add it globally so that in all test cases this UID will be get filtered. So this is what global means. In global, there are two sections. One is global, which comes around every set. Actually, there are many. If I do a record again, I'll get another test set. So this global validates for all the test sets which will be created, and this test set field actually is specified to a particular test set. So you can specify the name of the test set here and just write whatever is written here over here so that you can do it for exactly for that test set. So let's do it globally first. So let me just do the deploy test again. Let's see if it works or not. Yeah. So if you can see now the test, all the two test cases which were recorded are passed. So when we gave this as a noise, so Keploy didn't consider to compare these fields. So whatever field which starts with UUID in the body of response, it will actually consider it as a noise and it will eliminate that from the comparison. So let's come to why I have specified a list over here. So what we have observed is that the values of these fields play a major part actually. So what we enabled was we enabled rejects support over here. So people can actually use a rejects over here, like rejects one over here, and next there will be other rejects. So only the values which were recorded, if they satisfy this rejects, then only they will be considered as a noise. If doesn't satisfy these rejects, then it will be considered as they will be considered to compare in the JSON. So that is what we did. So when you specify empty list, you will actually eliminate all the possible things over here. So you will be eliminating every. You will not check about any rejects. You will just whenever you see UID field, you will be just considering it as noise. The deploy will be considering it as noise. So let us take a particular case, like if I want to just mention, uh, if I just want to mention the particular UID which I got. So let's say this is the UID which I got, right? So let me mention just this UID over here. So, so let's say I have mentioned only this particular UID, then also it should work because this UID, we are specifying that consider only this UID for noise. So yeah, I guess there is some. mm, I guess the Kepler config was not properly. Okay, let's take a rejects and try this. So let me take a rejects. Yeah, if you see the rejects has actually worked. So I have placed a rejects, which tells that if anything, which includes either a capital A, small a, or 0 to 9, or if there is any hyphen, I told it to consider it as noise. So it has considered that as noise and actually uh, didn't use it in comparison. So this is how we use the global noise field in body or header. It works in both of them. If you want to have a noise in header, then also it is possible. In the same way, in the test set also, like if you want to do it for only test set 0, you can specify the name of the test set and do the same actually. So this whenever you generate Keploy config, you will have the usage, how to use it over here, and also it is also present in the documentation how to use it actually. So this is about a Keploy config. So I guess uh, thanks for the opportunity, and I'll I think Anmesh is the next person to speak. Yeah.
Hi, Charan. Yeah. So that was a wonderful presentation by the team, the Charan, who showcased the noise filters, the Shivam, who has shared with us the one script installation, and the Neha, who has given a beautiful demo. So let's take some Q&As that we have over LinkedIn and YouTube. So Prashant is asking if I don't have any code in Rust for my application, then I still have to integrate Keploy with my application in Rust. Charan, would you like to take it up?
Can I couldn't see the question left.
So
What was the
basically,
question? Can you?
he earlier asked a question whether Keploy can be used on an application which is built by using Turbo Repo. If yes, I if yes, can I know how can we use it? So basically, Turbo Repo is a toolkit that you can say that is written in Rust, which is used to build system optimized systems for TypeScript and the JavaScripts.
Okay. So coming to Rust, we haven't actually tested whether we support it or not, but we have some users who said that they were
Yeah, we do
using.
support. Like we have a sample Rust application, so we do have support. It's just
Okay,
that I'm not familiar with the turbo repo of how it's working. So yeah, sorry to cut you in between. Charan?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Even I don't know what turbo repo is. If you can, Prashant Verma can explain what turbo repo is properly, so we can go through it.
So yeah, sure. What I'll do, I'll just paste the StreamYard link in the comment, and I'll basically showcase it here. So if anyone have any questions, they can come across, and then we'll discuss. So this is a StreamYard link. You can join in for the live Q&A. In meanwhile, let's go through some other questions. So Ayush had asked earlier. I think Shivam answered it. Shivam and Saurav, Shubham have answered it. So can we use Keploy to test in production? Like he has some pods in which his applications are running right now.
Yeah, so we actually tried running Keploy in Kubernetes actually. So we actually ran it as a container inside the pod only. Like whenever you have a pod, you might have running your application as a container. So we have actually also run an other container in the same pod as Keploy. So we use that Keploy to actually record and test calls with that. So we are currently also building it to be robust. So we actually the next phase will be of that only. So I think even in the next call we are going to show that, I guess,
Right.
how to integrate uh, Keploy with
How to
Kubernetes
like
properly.
use
So
Keploy in production with Kubernetes controllers and using the data mocks and creating test cases. Yeah. Like that's something on our roadmap. We'll be discussing more on our next community call that's scheduled in early January. Okay, so recent one that we have is can Keploy be used with TDD as I already have them in place. So I'm assuming like can Keploy, so I would diversify it to TDD and BDD as well. Charan,
yeah,
would you like to
can you
take it
repeat
up?
the question?
Okay, okay. Yeah, I think Neha would be.
Yeah, I'll answer that. So, if you are using TDD, basically you're writing test cases before development. Then, how our TDD users use it is they make the mocks first, and they basically write the test cases themselves. And that combination is working. So, yeah, I mean, if you are using TDD, you can use only the mocking feature of Keploy, so that you don't have to set up the testing infra. Yeah.
Gotcha. So Prashant has replied like Turbo Repo is a caching tool that accelerates software development by optimizing dependency management and build processes. So if I assume it, uh, it could work like a Redis if it's using a cache. Maybe I think we have to try it out before we can give
Hmm.
an exact
No,
like.
I guess he's talking something like Maven, I guess, over here. It
Could
looks
be
like
like
that through the
I'm not
explanation.
so familiar with the Turbo Repo, how it works and its function.
Yeah,
I think Prashant, we can take this offline. Please feel free to reach out to us on Slack. There is a support channel. Would be happy to deep dive. And as long as your application is getting the API calls and Keploy is wrapped like a proxy to it, like we have a root access to your Linux kernel, then it's fine. We should be able to do it.
So that's pretty much it. Earlier, Swapnil asked like what dependencies and databases we have support.
So I guess right now we have MongoDB, Postgres, Redis. Um, we are building one for RabbitMQ. We have Oracle DB in the enterprise version. Um, what else?
we s-
Any,
we support the general HTTP dependency too.
yeah,
We do
normal
also
HTTP.
support have a gRPC as well, like gRPC client,
Yeah.
Yes,
MySQL, SQLites.
And also we have a generic version of dependency where if there is no special authentication done in any dependency, or if there is no special encryption in a dependency, so our generic dependency can actually give you mocks which may not be readable, but which will be able to you will be able to record calls and test the calls. So you may not be able to edit the mocks because they may not be readable, but the other things you can actually do everything. So you can treat mocks as a black box and go continue if you have a dependency which doesn't have any special encryption or authentication. So that generic dependency actually solves most of the dependencies. So
Yep. Yeah.
So I think if anyone has any more questions, they can ask in our Slack. I have posted the link for the Slack. I'll pin it as well, and we'll be happy to take your queries over dev support, support channel, as well as the general channel. So that's it for this community call, this version of community call. In next community call, we'll be discussing or we'll be going through like what are the new changes. So right now we have GitHub Actions, support for Kubernetes, custom dedupe, and auto-generated test cases in our roadmap. And let's discuss those in December.
Yep, sounds good, Animesh. Thanks, Charan. And just an announcement that Keploy is coming up with the writers program. We saw a lot of engagement on, users submitting good blogs, and we thought of rewarding them. So there are new batch of Keploy goodies being shipped, and the new writers program is also coming up. So please stay tuned for that. Happy to take any questions over the community channels, and please feel free to contact us. Thank you for joining, and I love open source, and thanks the open source community that we have. Yeah.
That's all, folks. See you in January.
Yeah. Bye, see you.
Bye bye.
yes.